Alright, so this is the taping for a lateral ankle sprain. So when you've twisted over, it's a really common injury, and you strain the ligament down here and your foot's twisted over and in. What we want to do with taping when you're getting ready to return to sport is keep the foot in a neutral position and not allow that bending in to happen. So there's a lot of different ways to do this. This is probably a really simple one that a parent or a partner could do at home. You start off putting an anchor up the leg, making sure whenever you're doing anchors it's not too tight. It's just got to be a nice loose band around the leg to make sure it doesn't cut off your circulation. So you're just laying that on with no real tension in it. That becomes then the base of what you are going to base the rest of the tape off. And you want to do one of these, which is called a stirrup, so a nice long bit of tape. You can start on the inside, it's probably ideal, but it doesn't matter too much if you start on the outside. And right down the side of the leg, you want to pat it down, come around the bottom of her ankle, and then all the way up, and it should finish, if you've measured it well, back on the anchor at the top. Pat down all the little creases and holes, and if you give it a bit of a rub, that's what will let the tape stick. So once you've got the stirrup, we're going to do what's called a reverse 6. So it's like the number 6, but in reverse, starting on the outside. And remember, you're trying to prevent that twisting in. So as we cross the front of the ankle, cross it right in the front of the joint line there, in the middle part there, pat that down. And as you come around, you just follow the line of what you did with that first stirrup, with the tape, and finish again up on that anchor you did up the leg. So if you come up there, pat that down. As a rule, for most people above sort of the teenage years who've got a full-size foot, we want to do 2 of those. That's the bit that really gives it some strength, and it's a nice one just to really just get a slightly different angle, but same again, straight over the front of the ankle. So you want to double that up because that's the bit you really need the strength in. And 2 of those all the way up to the anchor. When you're putting the tape on, you try and make sure a foot's in that 90-degree position rather than pointed, and you finish it up on the anchor, same again, pat it down, so it should be a nice big support. And then to stop the anterior draw, or the pulling forward of the ankle out of the joint, you do what's called a heel lock. A heel lock's a bit tricky. You're going to start it right in the middle of the ankle with all the passes of that you do around an ankle. Try to get them all to come right through the middle. You're going to come down underneath the foot, and rather than go up where you did with the last reverse 6s, you're going to go across on a 45-degree angle across the heel, and that should bring you nicely back up to the middle of the ankle. You may need to just pleat it a little bit to change your angle, but you can do exactly the same thing on the other side. So it's like a figure of 8, coming down the outside of a foot, underneath, across the heel at that 45 degrees again, and then it should come back up to finish right in the middle. You don't want to do these too firmly, but they do have a bit of a tension in because the tape crosses over itself, and that'll stop. You can see where the tape's coming up on that angle. It'll stop that forwards pulling of the ankle when you're running around. So that's the basis of what you really need to do mostly for the ankle sprains, and if you wanted to, you could just anchor and finish off then. The other thing which you can do is a really nice, to give it a solid feel, is you can just fill in all the gaps. So once we put the anchor on there, and that's a nice loose one because it's a full length around the leg, and then what we're going to do is just fill in that gap just so that it doesn't puff up or anything in there, and it gives it a little bit of security holding the 2 bones in the lower part of the leg together. And you can put a little bit of tension as you come across the front of the ankle, and just fill all those little gaps in. As with any bits of taping, generally the little edges are what's going to catch, so just to finish this off, it's nice to just lock off all the edges of these little bits of tape that we're putting on. So for Emily's ankle today, you can see that probably takes about 4 of those just to fill in the gaps. And just to make it neat so these little edges don't catch. This is under no tension, but you can just lay a little piece on there that just covers it all in and make sure it won't catch. And generally with taping, you want to do it if they're playing sport just before, maybe half an hour before they go out, but that might last, if you just pat it dry and you had a shower and you didn't rub it too much, that would last a couple of days even if you were showering in between. And you can see what it'll stop is when we try to strain her ankle, the tape will pull there and just stop her moving her foot so far.